There are two things in the Bible that, when you kind of look at them both together, they really give you it's like a complete picture. And I think people spend so much time consuming the Bible to kind of gain, you might see it as knowledge, but to gain as much information out of the Bible as possible, that the essence of the Bible is often overlooked. So, the Bible itself, in my view, is pretty much a story. But then intertwined into that story, you might find some guidance. And what you often see is people that sort of have studied the Bible will make references all the time to chapter and verse and so on related to certain situations and whatever. But I regard the Bible essentially as being not about how you see the world, but it's related to how you kind of see yourself. So the book of Genesis in the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve eat from the tree is called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay? Now, when they eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, their whole perception of reality changes. And basically, how I view this story is it's saying that once they have acquired knowledge, they divide reality, or their experience of reality, ultimately God, into two halves, good and evil. And this is presented to us when God comes back into the garden and both Adam and Eve are hiding from God because they perceive God as a potential evil because of how they view themselves. And this is all after they have acquired knowledge. Okay, so let's just put that to one side for a moment. And then in the New Testament, you have the Gospel of St. John. The beginning of that Gospel says, in the beginning, and I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head, I haven't studied the Bible, but I think it says something like, in the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay? Now, there's one word in all of that stands out, completely stands out to me, which is the word was. So, in the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay? Now, there was something else that I saw that's just come to me while I'm recording this. And again, I don't know the chapter and verse. I just remember it sort of vaguely saying, and it's when Jesus is sort of being questioned about his identity. And he says something like, before Abraham, I am. I don't remember whereabouts in the Bible it says it, what chapter or verse or whatever, or what story. Before Abraham, I am. Now, what Jesus is basically saying is that in God, there is no past, there is no future, there just is. So it's like saying, before Abraham, which was effectively the past, I am. So I am is past, present, and future. Okay? Now, I've just digressed a bit. Coming back to what I was saying about the Gospel of St. John. And the Word was God, the Word was with God, and so on. Now, it doesn't say the Word is God, the Word is with God, it says was. And how I kind of relate this to the Garden of Eden is, prior to Adam and Eve eating from the tree, the Word is God. So knowledge is, in fact, there is no knowledge, there is just God. But then Adam and Eve chose to acquire knowledge. So it's like, in that moment, they put knowledge above God. So how I see all of this now is, this is how effectively the human mind works. The human mind has been conditioned with this idea that knowledge is power, when in truth, the only power is God. God is the ultimate power. But we have this belief that knowledge is power. And because we believe that knowledge is power, we also believe that the more we consume in this Bible, out of this book, or any religious book, come to mention it, the more we consume and the more we can regurgitate out of these books to kind of portray this air of being knowledgeable, the more powerful we appear to be. When in truth, our consumption of knowledge and the belief that knowledge is power is actually putting knowledge over God. So we are filling our minds with beliefs as opposed to actually inquiring and basically finding out for ourselves what or who God actually is. So, this is kind of interesting. It's, and although a lot of people might disagree and so on with what I'm saying, I personally sort of suggest that it's something that we have to inquire. We have to kind of realize for ourselves, the path that Jesus followed to go into the wilderness and so on. This kind of has been echoed in so many different areas. In my view, this is the path that Buddha followed. He followed the same path of understanding. He went into the wilderness for so many weeks or whatever it was to truly understand. And the demons that it speaks of in the Bible and so on, this is just what's going on in Jesus's mind. The mind constantly is trying to push us towards materialism and material things, the idea of success and failure, and this whole idea and these belief systems that we all kind of cling to. These are all our desire for knowledge over what is fundamentally true. And our greatest fear is to be naked, which isn't like, the physical clothing or whatever. It is actually without identification, to be not identified with things, whether it's culture, whether it's image, whether it's appearance, and all of the things that we identify ourselves with. These are what clothe us. But in Jesus entering the wilderness, in Buddha entering the wilderness, or Siddhartha Gautama as he was before he became the Buddha, they entered the wilderness in order to realize who they truly were beneath all of these layers of identity and image and belief and so on, and to kind of get to the root of all of that. This is ultimately to face your demons and all of these ideas that we have in our minds that are constantly trying to push us towards this grasp of materialism and belief systems.